First, we have new information in the assault of Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi.
That's right. CBS News has learned the suspect used a hammer when they broke into the property. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office says someone broke into her San Francisco home this morning and violently attacked her husband. The Associated Press says Mr. Pelosi is being treated for bruising, severe swelling, and other injuries. U.S. Capitol Police say San Francisco police have the assailant in custody, and the motive for the attack is under investigation.
Let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane, who is following all of these developments from Washington. So, Scott, walk us through what we're learning about this assault. And is there any sense at this early stage in the investigation of a potential motive?
Well, let's get the bottom line here first. The person who is suspected in this attack is in custody. A man is in custody. A motive is being investigated. Paul Pelosi's in the hospital, expected to make a full recovery. A spokesperson for the Speaker of the House says it was a violent attack. So we have a man in custody and the victim, Paul Pelosi, in the hospital recovering. Speaker Pelosi was not at the home at the time of this attack. She was traveling. She has a particularly busy travel schedule almost by default, but especially so as the midterm elections approach. In fact, she was supposed to make a speech tomorrow night here in Washington. That speech has been canceled. The Speaker has also passed along her regards and thanks to the first responders who responded to this attack. The FBI is taking lead on this investigation, law enforcement sources tell CBS News, which of course raises the prospect that they are investigating the possibility this was a planned attack, a motivated attack targeting the Pelosi home, potentially Paul Pelosi. But so far in the statements we've gotten from the Speaker of the House, they've made it emphatic. The motive for this attack is under investigation right now. We expect to hear from San Francisco police within the hour.
Of course, any violence is disturbing. Violence against elected leaders has a certain added intensity to it. Scott, what kinds of security measures are in place to protect the Speaker and her family, and have those measures, sort of intensified in light of recent developments?
Great question, because a lot of my sources have been asking that rhetorically today as well. The Capitol Police Department, which has a $500 million a year budget and 2,000 plus employees, has among its workers a Dignitary Protection Service, the DPS, which is assigned to personally protect the leaders of Congress, not just the Speaker of the House, the Minority Leader, the House Majority Whip, Minority Whip. You'll recall you heard about the Dignitary Protection Service in 2017 when a member of that service stopped the gunman at that congressional baseball practice, saving the lives of a number of members of the U.S. House. The Dignitary Protection Service is with Speaker Pelosi, who was not at the House overnight during the hours of this attack. In a Capitol Police statement, they say they are working jointly with the FBI on this, though the FBI is taking lead in the investigation. They also say they have a California field office. The Capitol Police aren't just here in Washington at the Capitol. They have officers and specialists throughout the country to help protect members of Congress in their hometowns. The Capitol Police say their field office responded after reports of this attack. Capitol Police Dignitary Protection protects the dignitaries, but according to this statement, may not be there on site with spouses and family members when the dignitary's gone.
Scott, it's disturbing to hear these details. I wonder how other lawmakers are responding to this news.
Any number of statements of sympathy. Members of Congress, both parties, the President of the United States as well, any number of the organizations and activist groups who are here in Washington and who do business with Speaker Pelosi. But there's a broader issue here. Members of Congress have been pretty clear. They have increasing concern about their safety. We know the number of investigations of threats against members of Congress and their loved ones has dramatically increased in just the past few years. Our CBS News reporting is that there were 10,000 or so threat investigations in just the past year for U.S. Capitol Police. Let me tell you, that is a dramatic increase from 3 or 4 years ago. Significantly higher than it was in the past. And the true concern is the safety of members of Congress when they're not beneath the protective dome of the U.S. Capitol, where they have this fortress that has metal detectors, armed officers by the hundreds, and the security that surrounds the complex from D.C. police. When they're traveling home, when they're in their district offices, which is often just a space in a strip mall or a corner of a shopping plaza, when they're at the airport, when they're on the road, town hall events, that's where they have true concern about regular vulnerability, where they feel safe walking to and from the House chamber most days. And this is an occasion where people will ask, should the U.S. Capitol Police extend more protection farther and wider? Should local police have better connectivity with the Capitol Police to respond quickly to not only attacks, but to threats?
Well, Scott, you know, all of this has a chilling effect on democracy, right? I mean, anytime elected leaders, members of government, and I'm thinking of Justice Kavanaugh, what he experienced as well over the summer, anytime there's a threat of violence, that has a chilling effect on democracy, on people who will run for office, on people who, you know, want to take those positions. So I'm wondering if, you know, you talked about this rise in threats. Is it linked to the rise of violent rhetoric that we've been seeing online?
Yeah, I think the experts would say emphatically yes, that this politically toxic moment where politically violent speech has new platforms, has wider platforms, contributes to this increase in threats. And it has a chilling effect, as you say, on who runs for office, who wants to hold this position and sustain and take in all of these threats. And I don't just mean the members who hold office. How about their staffers? I've spoken to any number of congressional staffers who walked away from that assignment because they were tired of answering the phone and hearing violent things and threatening things. You mentioned also the recent case of threats against Supreme Court justices. There's a man being held in Maryland, Nicholas Roski, charged with an attempted assassination of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. His case just went to court on Wednesday. He's facing trial later this year, having pled not guilty.
All right. Well, Scott MacFarlane, thank you so much. And I should note, we don't yet know the motive of this attack, but thank you so much for all your reporting, Scott MacFarlane in Washington.